everybody.
So, whilst the music is still running, yeah, go anywhere you want with that seat. It's not yet a robot actually doing this. So, maybe before we start with my first question, maybe can you just tell us and tell the audience a little bit who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Everybody, I'm very excited to be here with you. Thank you, everybody. My name is Moritz Hämmerle. I'm working for Fraunhofer Institute. Fraunhofer is the biggest research organization for applied science in the world. We have more than 20,000 people working on many different questions. One of my colleagues was on stage, I think, 2 or 3 presentations before. And we are working with very different topics at Fraunhofer. So energy harvesting, maybe one, very exclusive one. My team or my institute, we are working more on the question how future of work is going to be designed and how companies have to develop, transform themselves, how work organization is playing a crucial role in future developments, and how people can be motivated to be part of the digital transformation. So it's more an organizational topic. And at Fraunhofer in Stuttgart, I am managing director of a part. It's called Cognitive Engineering and Production.
Wow.
So we're talking about people working in a factory, people working in development departments, because engineering companies are the most important companies in Germany,
yes,
one of the most important companies in Germany, and they are very relevant for the prosperity. So it's quite important for them to keep ahead of the transformation.
So I like the fact that you use the term specifically, we help design, because we hear a lot, as I said just before you enter the stage, the future of work, the future of jobs is something that you cannot open a newspaper and every day someone will tell you that all our jobs will disappear, the robots are taking over, automation, the usual. But you are practically also designing. We'll get there, and I think this is why I'm very happy to have you with us today and with me on stage. But maybe I know it's depending on which market you are, this is the debate has a different name. I think here in Germany, Industry 4.0 is the one that is used the most. Am I correct? Is that a term that is used a lot?
Yes, exactly. Industry 4.0 is the term we invented. We are very proud of that term. We invented it in Germany.
There you go. I didn't even know that.
Only one of the big inventions of the last years. And Industry 4.0, what does it mean? It means nothing else than the IoT for a factory, if you make it short. Maybe you guys have been here in the morning when Ms. Moreau, she talked about the Reno project.
Yes.
And she talked about equipping Renos with these smart, intelligent boxes so we can track wherever they are going to, what kind of tribes they are meeting, what they are eating, and what kind of tracks they are taking. So we can control their population quite good. And if we transfer this to an industrial context, to a factory context, this is nothing else than Industry 4.0 means. So we equip everything in a factory. Is it a machine? Is it a human being? Is it a tool? Is it a box of materials or a die in a factory? We equip these things with intelligent applications, IoT applications, to make them communicate with the internet or to make them communicate with each other. And to have an interconnected industry, a smart factory, to bring in intelligent sensors, to bring in something like assistance, like artificial intelligence, to make this usable for factories is a big task and a big challenge for the companies, because you guys all have to know that factories are very different from offices.
Of course.
They are something like a Stone Age, if you have a look into the digital world. Of course, they have IT systems running there, we all know that. But these IT systems, they are very specific, they are very capsule, they are not real-time oriented like we're used to it in personal applications or even in the office applications at the moment. So Industry 4.0 means nothing else than the digitalization of a factory and the interconnection of everything in these buildings.
Does that mean that your organization only tackles problems or challenges or opportunities that are linked to factories, or do you also tackle the traditional office workspace as well? Or is it something you don't touch?
Yeah, our organization, our team in Stuttgart, we have different branches. Of course, we have also people dealing with the office side.
Okay.
And my team is more dealing with the factory side or in the office where we have product developers. But one thing we see quite clear is that all these jobs become more interconnected.
True.
And we have so many products running up every time, every month, every second. And the product developers, they have to work so close together with people from a factory. And sometimes we are talking not about white collars and the blue collar workers, but we are calling them like gray collar workers, because the tasks are becoming quite mixed.
So let me jump on that. I had another question, but that's very interesting. Are you actually then involving the factory workers, the blue collars, as we say, into the process of designing their own future? Are you asking them questions, getting feedback? Are you making them participate in the design?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Industry 4.0 is nothing you can buy in the supermarket. These cases, the use cases, they are not defined, and there's not a catalog out of 20,000 use cases you can say, okay, these 10 or 15 are suitable for my company. So to find Industry 4.0 cases for a factory is a quite interesting task, and this is some kind of consultancy we also do.
Okay.
And we help the companies to find the perfectly suited use cases, and we develop these use cases with the people from the company, because this is the only way to make them be happy working in this area, and the only way to make the processes really attractive and efficient at the end of the day.
And that they will actually use it, because they've been involved, they probably will actually end up using it, right?
Exactly. That's something we had for 20,000 years, that if we don't invent something, then we don't like this, so let's have the people participating in the process, of course.
One of the things that I've seen, I live in the UK, we have the health and safety. I was born in Switzerland. It's a country like Germany, is very stringent on safety measures in factories especially, but only, like in this room as well. When we built this stage, we had so many checks to make sure that everything, from fire, from, all the safety around us. I guess it's also an area that is of interest to you. Are you also participating in helping maybe the companies or the safety people make their own jobs easier?
Yes, of course. Safety is something which becomes more, let's say, more real-time when we use Industry 4.0. But safety is also something which is very relevant for the companies, because if we try to find some new Industry 4.0 cases with them, and they say, okay, this business case is maybe very attractive from an economical side, but is it also attractive from the process side? Can we run it? What's the uptime of the process if we equip it with new IoT devices? So that's a big question, and that's also why we are trying to bring all these cases into certain areas, not at the first stage, not into a company, but into a lab, so we can try to fix all the bugs and try to find out how it's working and how to improve these cases at the end of the day.
It's as if we've done it all along, because you gave me the perfect keyword here, lab. Let's go a little bit. So we talked about what is Industry 4.0. You mentioned at the beginning when you were introducing yourself what you were doing, and I quipped on the fact that it's really interesting that you use the term design. So you're actually designing the tools that will be used by these people, whether factory, office, more factory for you. So, because when we talk about the future of jobs, there's actual jobs, the future of work, but the future of the workplace, all these debates are always kind of layered one on top of the other. Can you maybe show us, we have already a slide in the back here that shows the Future Work Lab, actually. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about this and how you process that? Maybe my first question would be, how do you decide to tackle one issue? Is it just because you think that it's an interesting thing to do, or is it because maybe an industry comes to you and say, okay, we have this issue, can you help us fix it?
Okay, if you have a look at the discussion of Industry 4.0 in Germany, it's a typically very technical discussion, and social and organizational aspects, they play only a small role. And we think that these aspects, to integrate these aspects, is a very important task. So we are trying to use some agile methods, and in agile methods, you always try to focus the problem.
Yeah.
So what is the problem, and who's got the problem? Typically, companies do have the problem. So we have labs like the Arena 2036, one of our biggest research campuses, which is located also in Stuttgart, and which is the home of the Future Work Lab, where we work together with big companies, and where we solve problems they have today, but mostly we think about problems they should not have in the next 5 or 10 years.
I see.
So we're working at their future, or at the future of the processes. This is typically made for the typical big branches in southern part of Germany, which is, of course, the automobile industry.
Yeah, I was about to say, Stuttgart is home to a lot of big factories for automakers, right?
Yes, of course. But there are even more small and medium-sized companies who are quite more innovative than the big ones, who have to be faster because they equip the big ones with new, beautiful ideas that have to work. And so most of our customers and most of our idea bringers are small and medium-sized companies we're working for.
Okay, so let's go to your lab. So we have the first slide here because we want to show you and the people on the live stream that you are not only words, but you're actually doing some things. So maybe if I advance the second slide. So is that like what? Is that pictures within your lab? You can see it here as well in the front, right?
Yeah, this is like a view into our lab. We have 1,000 square meters of demonstrators located in Stuttgart.
1,000?
1,000.
Oh, wow.
This is the biggest lab for the mixture of work, people, innovation, technology, and organization. We call it the biggest lab for future of work in Germany. We have more than, at the moment, 35 to 40 different demonstrators to make the people feel and make them, try out how the future of work in a factory is looking like. And typically, people come to our lab. Some of them are skeptical, some of them are enthusiastic towards these technologies. But when they go out, they have a more realistic view. The enthusiasts, they have a more realistic view on what's working at the moment. And the critical ones, they can see that it's not that hard, that it's not terrible or not easy to work there, that it improves some of the situations out of work, safety, or if we talk about physical stuff, workers always have. So it improves a lot of things, and this is quite nice. We have so many different cases concerning robots, the collaboration of humans with robots, the use of assistance systems is a big topic we have, because assistance systems, like we all use every day, like mapping and navigation or whatever, is typically quite new for manufacturing companies. And we're talking about smartphones for people on the shop floor. What are their tasks? What are applications they can use with that? We are talking about the use of typically behaviors we have adopted as humans. For example, if we have a problem at home with any product which is broken, for example, what are we doing? We're checking YouTube whether there is a video how to fix the problem. And of course, this is some kind of behavior we transfer to industrial situations. Or if we have a situation, if our computer is broken, what are we going to do? We are Googling the problem. Maybe we find something on any website, in any forum, or on Facebook. And why not thinking about a Facebook for machines, or maybe some apps for people working on the shop floor? This may become the future, I think.
Just a question, you said people come. So how is it? Is it open to the public? Is it people that are prospective clients that come? Is it you invite people in open days? How does it work?
Yeah. At first we thought about, when we have a lab like this, it might be interesting to regional people. So let's have an open lab, make everybody come whenever they want. And then we had so many people asking us to enter the lab because we have been on TV. When we had the opening ceremony in February 2007, we had 7 or 8 different TV stations on site.
Oh, wow.
We were on the top news of the German Tagesschau, which is quite known. And from then on, we had more than 8,000 people running into our lab, and so we have to organize it a little bit. We have open lab days regularly. Next one is on December the 5th.
Okay.
Maybe it's interesting for everybody watching on the live stream. You can come and visit us. The lab is open for about half a day. It's free to come. You can try out everything you want to have. You can work with all these equipments you can see in the back. It's only a short excerpt of what we have. You can wear an exoskeleton. You can, talk to the robots. You can use chatbots. You can use smart glasses. Whatever you can imagine from any fair or technology review, newspaper, whatever people might use as an information source. We have this equipment, and we have it applied for certain industry cases, which is the main thing, I think, for people coming to visit our lab.
But it's really cool that you can actually touch the future. For instance, when I was living in Japan, there's a lot of elderly people, and they're introducing a lot of these exoskeletons to help elderly people. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually, and I've never done it, so I will probably come on December 5th, to actually try it, being able to actually touch the future and see that it's not that, because I started opening it like people are afraid of the future. You actually maybe also kind of make peace with them, with the future, saying it's not that bad, actually.
Actually, when we're talking about exoskeletons, there's some funny story, because you can see how technology is developing very fast. If you have a view into YouTube at this moment, there's a video on YouTube, the most clicked video of our institution, with more than 50 to 60,000 clicks. This was a video when our marketing team, they didn't tell me that they recorded me when I wore this exoskeleton the first time. And it was like a very prototypical thing. If you wear something like 10-kilogram engine or something, it helps you, so you won't use your muscles. It supports your muscles. And if you don't wear this, this was a very first prototype, you were always standing like this because it was not intelligent. Nowadays, we have a very intelligent prototype with active motors on your bones, in the joints, yes. So it will realize whether you have something in your hand or not, and it will react to that. So you can see that technology is driving very fast, and that these context-sensitive stuff equipped with sensors and with a little bit of intelligence becomes into factories very, very fast.
Well, that's advanced, because I think we have two examples. Is that the first one? Or?
Yeah, we have two examples.
Yeah, because that's interesting, actually, because we were talking before, and you heard Moritz talking a lot about hardware, but you also have software solutions.
Yes.
Can you maybe explain that one, this one?
This is a very interesting software solution because it's very easy. And in 2013, we started one of the first 3 German projects dealing with Industry 4.0. And we thought about, when we do research, let's not do any of the typical research projects with a model or a structure or whatever you can imagine. Let's use a real use case from the companies. And we thought about a real use case of manufacturing companies is the flexible assignment of their workers, of their work deployments.
Yes.
And all the companies have to work more or less because customer demand is quite volatile, and everybody of us is used to ordering something and receiving it the next day, so they're very short lead and delivery times. Every company has that problem, and what are they doing to solve this problem? Typically, they are using the most innovative things they could imagine, a piece of paper and a pen. So what we did is we combined something like the app Doodle, you may know that from making appointments in the offices, and we combined it with an intelligent assistant who knows a lot about people, about their qualification, about their shift plans, and about anything you can imagine on their working time. And we coupled this with an application of a messenger. So if a company now needs an extra shift on Saturday, for example, they don't need to put out a paper into the factory and wait for people signing into that. They can just ask them via this intelligent device. And this is as intelligent that it follows some kind of flexibility strategy of the company. So there's more than just the question, do you want to work on Saturday or not?
Or not, yeah.
But it's a very fast thing for companies to improve their processes. And we have test cases with different automotive suppliers. Even Bosch used to have it. They've not been part of the project, but it was such a good project, they said, okay, let us check this out too. And of course, we let them. And this is some of the typical working pieces today at Bosch. They are working with this tool today.
Yeah, that's interesting, because not only you're designing the tools, but they are actually in use. It's not just use cases for a nice lab, and I'm sure your lab is very nice, but you say that people then actually, factories say, okay, we're going to use that because it makes our job easier, actually, right?
Exactly. That's why we are working in applied science. We never win a Nobel Prize, but we know about the real problems the company have and the best solutions they can do to improve their processes.
So let's go to the other example, which is, I think, more hardware. If I go forward, can I go forward? Yes, there you go. So what is this on the screen? I have no idea, actually, Moritz. Please explain us.
Yeah, this is a very interesting use case because if you think about an industrial assembly line, you might not think about what is behind us now. Yeah. So we had the idea to bring together an industry designer with very young people from Generation Y, Generation Z. You see one of these guys on the screen behind us. because they have very different requirements towards how they think their job in future should be. And they also have different requirements about the job environment. So we just asked them, what is your expectation towards an assembly job? Why is it not attractive today for you to work there? And they said, okay, everything is a little bit dirty in a factory, so let's do everything in real white style, like an iPhone style, very fresh, very new. Yeah. Let's put in some autonomous vehicles, like these material boxes on the side. They can drive from their own idea. Let's make it nice to work there.
Yes.
Not only production and productive, but also attractive. So let's put in some flowers to make it an interesting feeling, to have a good climate. We also put it in a perfume module. You can buy something like that. You can do it with a smartphone, and you can bring up different smells.
Wow.
But we also put it in some kinds of new technology. We put it in some chatbots. This is interesting for young people to work with this technology. We put it in smart glasses applications. You can see it on the second picture in this photo. And we used this technology to make the people working there, to make them decide more about how they are working. Because that's the second thing people don't like about factory work. Everything is very rigid in a factory.
Yes.
Yeah? Starting from your working time, starting from the standards you have, the workplace is very set. You can't really individualize this. And we try to break up these restrictions with a molecular workplace we designed in Stuttgart. This is a prototype, of course.
Yeah, of course, but still.
This is something for 20 years or whenever.
So you picked up in the last few minutes that remain with us, and it's sad because I could talk to you for hours. Actually, it's a fascinating topic. You just mentioned, okay, the Gen Y, millennials, Gen Z, doesn't matter how you call them, they're all very different definitions, but the way we perceive what a job is and what actually a job is changing. And the reverse of the coin for that is the skills and the attitude towards that job needs to be changing. In your view, that you have all these experience, especially in factory, but it could be also office workers, what do you see being the best qualification skills? What are the attitude that people should have in order to, again, I'm going to use on purpose, survive the arrivals of the robots? Do you see some stuff that work that people should have as behaviors?
Yes. I think it's quite different depending on the industry you're working in. If we have a look, for example, into the healthcare industry, that's completely different to the insurance sector or something. Why? Because if you are ill or in a hospital, you would like to, if you are not living in Japan, you would like to be cared by a human, of course, by a human being. And so social aspects, but also physical work may become much more interesting in the field of healthcare sector than maybe in an insurance or a bank. In a bank, it may be more like designing all these different IT systems around, like using smart data applications and stuff like that. And in factories, it might be like a mixture between both, because of course, it would not be able to automate everything. But there might be very good probabilities to automate things that are very routine jobs, auxiliary work, where we do the same thing very often every day.
Yeah, often and often and often.
That's of course a thing. But at the end of the day, I think that the most important skill for future is to think about all these systems of systems. Because in an IoT world, we are not only talking about the smart glasses here, the chatbot there, any kind of data application over there, but we also have to think about the whole ecosystem.
And the organism almost,
The whole organization, how everything goes together. What are we doing with the data from the car simulation for the parking system? And what is it about, how about using weather data for that? And if we think about these systems of a system, this might be one of the top skills, I think, for the future, to be able to see the business case, to understand the technology, and to design and to develop these systems. Because this is a very big task, and this is a very economically interesting task, of course.
I'm sure. And sadly, we just ran out of time. But wow, actually, I really believe it's almost like creating a living organism, like putting all the technologies that we've talked about today, that Moritz talked about today, and like making sense of them to create business cases, but also maybe a future that is happier. And that's a bit what I retain from this discussion, is that the future of jobs can be actually a happier place. It doesn't always have to be the very dark that we read. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think there's one thing we have to keep in mind. If we want to be successful in future, we have to have happy employees and very effective processes, and we have to have both of that. Only one thing, then it won't be really successful, I think.
Perfect closing words. And on that, guys, give a big round of applause to Moritz, please, for me. Thank you.
Paul, thanks.
Thank you, Moritz. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Bye-bye.